Morning begins as the first light of the day gently moves through the window. The room is still quiet. The body has just awakened, yet the mind already feels tired. Before you have time to sit up, familiar thoughts appear. Yesterday has not fully closed. Words left unsaid, tasks left unfinished, worries without answers. You have done nothing yet, but inside already feels heavy. This tiredness does not come from work. It comes from a mind that has not been allowed to rest. A peaceful morning does not mean that life has no problems. Peace means not carrying all of those problems into the very first moment of a new day. It is when you give your mind a small space to breathe before the world begins to demand. Morning does not require more effort. It does not ask you to change your entire life. It only asks that you speak a few timely words to yourself. The 6 reminders in this video do not require you to fully understand them. They only need to be listened to so the mind can slowly return to the place it often forgets. In the teachings of the Buddha, the mind becomes what it returns to most often. Lesson 1. I am not my thoughts. In the morning, thoughts often arrive before the light. When your eyes are not yet fully open, the mind has already begun to move. One small thought appears, then pulls another along with it. Yesterday has not yet left. Today has not yet begun. Between these two moments, the mind is already full. Many people wake up and believe that these thoughts are true. They believe the thoughts are who they are. And from that moment, tiredness begins. Thoughts themselves are not bad. Thoughts are a natural response of the mind when it touches memory, desire, and fear. But when we completely believe our thoughts, when we allow them to guide our emotions and actions, heaviness appears. One anxious thought can turn the whole day anxious. One thought of lack can make the entire day feel tense. Not because the day is difficult, but because the mind has chosen to cling to a story from the very beginning. Suffering does not come from thoughts appearing. It comes from identifying ourselves with those thoughts. We fail to notice that there is a quiet space behind every thought. A place that does not judge, does not rush, does not need to react. That place is not loud, yet it is always present. Imagine the morning sky. Clouds may gather, thick or thin, bright or dark. But the sky does not become the clouds. The clouds pass and the sky remains. Thoughts are like clouds. They come and they go. But you are not those clouds. You are the sky that allows them to appear. From a Buddhist perspective, there is a difference between the one who sees and what is seen. Thoughts are what is seen. Emotions are what is seen. You are the one who is seeing them. When you forget this, you are carried away by the stream of thought. When you remember it, you stand still in observation. And in that very moment, the mind begins to feel lighter. Notice this in the morning. When an anxious thought appears, the body responds as well. The chest tightens slightly. The breath becomes shorter. The mind starts running ahead. But if you simply recognize that a thought has arrived without chasing it, the experience changes. There is no need to fix it, no need to argue with it. Just see it. If you begin the day with anxious thoughts, the entire day will carry that color. If you begin the day with a sense of enoughness, the day becomes lighter. Not because circumstances change, but because the mind is no longer being pulled in every direction. The difference lies in where you stand, inside the thought or in the place of observation. This practice is very simple. When you wake up, do not rush to stand. Sit quietly on the bed. Place your feet on the floor. Gently close your eyes. Breathe in slowly. Breathe out deeply. There is no need to force the mind to be empty. Just give yourself a moment without reacting. When a thought appears, allow it to be there. Do not push it away. Do not follow it. Quietly remind yourself with a sentence soft enough to hear inside. I'm not my thoughts. I am the quiet space that observes them. Say it slowly. Say it gently. There is no need to believe it immediately. Just listen. This quiet space is always present. It does not need to be created. It only needs to be remembered. And when you remember it, even for a few seconds, the mind has already begun to clear. Not by erasing thoughts, but by not letting them occupy the entire inner space. Carry this remembering with you through the morning. There's no need to hold it tightly. Simply return whenever you notice yourself being carried away. Each time you return, you give yourself a little more freedom. And from there, a peaceful morning slowly begins to take shape. Lesson 2. I do not carry yesterday into today. Morning is not only the beginning of a new day. For many people, it is also the moment they carry yesterday with them. When they wake up, the body is in the present, but the mind is still turned backward. An unfinished conversation, a task left undone, a feeling that is not yet settled. These things are no longer here, yet they still occupy space in the mind. People often live this way without noticing. We carry words left unsaid and continue speaking them in our heads. We carry unfinished tasks and continue blaming ourselves inside. We carry emotions that have not dissolved and allow them to color the new day. Before leaving the bed, the mind is already heavy. Before the day begins, something inside already feels tired. According to the teachings of the Buddha, the past is like a dream that has already ended. While dreaming, everything feels very real. But when you wake up, you cannot carry that dream forward to live your life. The past is the same. It happened, but it is no longer happening. Only memory remains, and it is we who continue to feed that memory. Suffering does not come from the fact that the past was difficult. Suffering comes from reliving it each morning. Each time we remember with attachment, we allow what is past to continue existing. We think we are preparing for today, but in truth, we are repeating yesterday. Imagine a bowl of clear water. When left undisturbed, the water is calm and clear. But when we stir it, the sediment rises and the water becomes cloudy. The past is like sediment at the bottom of the bowl. It does not disappear, but if we do not stir it, the water remains clear. Each morning, when we replay old stories in our mind, we are stirring our own bowl. Letting go of yesterday does not mean denying what happened. It does not mean saying it was unimportant. Letting go means not continuing to carry it in the mind. It means allowing the water to settle. It means allowing yourself to feel lighter, even if circumstances have not changed. This practice is very simple, but it requires gentleness. When the morning begins, pause for a moment. Ask yourself slowly, is there something from yesterday that I am still carrying? It may be just a feeling. It may be just a thought. There is no need to search for many things. Just one is enough. When you recognize it, do not try to push it away. Do not argue with it. Simply acknowledge that it belongs to yesterday. Gently tell yourself that today has begun. Then imagine placing that thing down, as if setting a heavy object out of your hands. There is no need to do it forcefully. Just do it sincerely. Letting go does not mean forgetting. Letting go means not holding on. When the hand does not hold, it naturally becomes lighter. When the mind does not hold, the day becomes less heavy. You still remember, but the memory no longer controls your emotions. You still know, but it no longer guides the entire day. Each morning is a small opportunity to begin again. Not to begin life again, but simply to begin this moment again with less baggage. When you allow yesterday to remain behind you, you create space for today to be lived more fully. Remind yourself with a simple sentence, soft enough to hear inside. Yesterday has ended. Today begins without that weight. Say this not to convince yourself, but to remember. And when you remember often enough, the mind slowly learns how to set things down. Lesson 3. Everything I need already exists within me. In the morning, when everything is still quiet, a very small whisper often appears in the mind. Sometimes you cannot hear it clearly, but you can feel it. A sense of lack, a familiar thought. I am not enough, not good enough, not capable enough, not peaceful enough. This whisper is not loud, yet it quietly guides the entire day. When you believe it, you begin to run. You run to make up for something. You run to prove yourself. You run to search for something outside that you believe is missing inside. And the more you run, the more tired you become. Not because you are weak, but because you believe that you are incomplete. According to the teachings of the Buddha, suffering arises from the feeling of lack. Not because we truly lack something, but because we believe that we do. When the mind believes it is not enough, it always turns outward. It searches in achievement, in recognition, in affection, in things not yet obtained. But that search never ends, because it does not begin from a place of sufficiency. In modern life, the illusion of lack appears very early each morning. You only need to open your phone to see the lives of others. They seem to be going further. They seem to be doing better. They seem to be living a more complete life. And without anyone saying a word, your mind begins to compare. From there, the feeling of not being enough becomes clearer. Comparison does not help you move forward. It only makes you forget where you're standing. When you look at others to measure your own worth, you hand the power of defining yourself to the outside world. From that moment, peace quietly slips away. Buddhism does not teach us to turn away from the world. It teaches us to turn back toward the truth within. That truth is very simple. Everything needed to live a full day already exists inside you. The ability to breathe, the ability to feel, the ability to understand and to care. These things do not need to be bought. They do not need to be proven. They only need to be remembered. Imagine a small seed resting in the soil. From the outside, it is silent and unremarkable. Yet inside that seed is an entire tree waiting to emerge. The seed does not need to become something else in order to grow. It only needs the right conditions to reveal what is already there. You are the same. Inside you already exist enough strength, enough clarity, and enough capacity to move through today. What you lack is not something more, but the trust that you are already enough. When you trust this enoughness, the mind stops running. And when the mind stops running, peace begins to appear. Returning to sufficiency does not mean you stop growing. On the contrary, growth becomes healthy only when it arises from a foundation of enoughness. When you act from the joy of learning, not from the fear of lacking. When you move forward to live fully, not to prove something to the world. The practice for this morning is very gentle. When you wake up, place one hand over your heart. Feel the heartbeat. Feel the warmth. There is no need to think much. Simply feel that you are alive, right now. The breath is here. The heart is here. You are here. Gently say to yourself a sentence soft enough to hear inside. Everything I need already exists within me. Say it not to convince yourself, but to remember. To remember that you are not beginning the day from nothing. You are beginning from a life that is already full. When you carry this remembering into the morning, the way you see the world changes. You no longer look through the eyes of lack. You look with a quiet sense of sufficiency. And from there, you step into the day more lightly, more slowly, and with greater peace. Lesson 4. Nothing outside me can take away my peace. In the morning, as a new day gently opens, the world awakens with many movements. Sounds, news, emotions, expectations, and worries begin to spread quickly. Some people carry haste, some carry irritation, some carry a vague fear without a name. Before we are fully aware, we are already pulled into that rhythm. And without mindfulness, we absorb all of it as a habit. People often do not realize how easily they carry the emotions of others inside themselves. A difficult glance, a heavy word, a tense attitude can cause the mind to waver. Not because these things are so great, but because we allow them to pass straight inside without knowing that we have a choice in how we carry them. According to the teachings of the Buddha, suffering does not arise from what happens, but from how we hold it in the mind. A word is only sound if we let it pass. It becomes a burden when we hold on to it and allow it to define our emotions. When we carry the chaos of the world inside, peace naturally slips away. Many people think that keeping distance from outer emotions means becoming cold. But in the spirit of Buddhism, Letting go is not closing the heart. Letting go is opening awareness. It is loving without losing yourself. It is listening without bringing all the heaviness home. When you know how to pause, you can still be fully present without being carried away. Imagine a deep lake. On the surface, the wind may blow, rain may fall, leaves may touch the water. The surface ripples, but the depths remain still. Your peace is the same. The world may touch the surface, but it does not have to reach the depth within. To do this, you need to learn how to breathe and observe. When an emotion arises, do not rush to react. Simply recognize that it is present. Breathe in slowly, breathe out deeply. Allow the emotion to be there, but do not let it lead you. With just a few breaths, you create enough space to avoid being pulled along. Keeping peace is not about controlling the world, but about knowing how to return to yourself. You cannot stop others from being angry, but you can choose not to let that anger occupy your mind. You cannot stop noise, but you can keep a quiet place inside to return to. Each morning, remind yourself that peace is something sacred that deserves protection. No one can enter your inner space unless you open the door. No one can take away your calm if you remember that it belongs to you. As the day unfolds, you will encounter many things. Some pleasant, some difficult, but you can always return to the breath, to observation, to the quiet space within. Gently say to yourself a sentence soft enough to hear. Nothing outside me can take away my peace. When you remember this sentence, you do not need to try to be strong. You only need to stay with yourself. Stay with the silence that is already present. From there, you move forward more lightly, more slowly, yet more steadily. Peace does not come from the world changing. Peace comes from not allowing the world to decide what happens inside you. Each time you choose not to react, you protect a very deep part of yourself. That part is not loud, not on display, but it is a place you can return to at any time. When you honor it, peace gradually becomes the foundation of your entire day. And from that foundation, you can step into the world without losing yourself. This is the gentle boundary that Buddhism points to, a boundary created by awareness, not by fear, and nourished again and again. Lesson 5. Today, I choose presence over pressure. For many people, morning begins with pressure, even before they have stood up. Before their feet touch the ground, a list of things to do already appears in the mind. Messages to reply to, responsibilities waiting, the fear of falling behind. The mind starts running while the body tries to keep up. And so the new day opens in unconscious haste. This pressure does not always come from circumstances. Often, it comes from how we think about time. We confuse what feels urgent with what is truly important. We believe everything must be done immediately, that slowing down means being left behind. But when we live this way, morning is no longer a beginning. It becomes an extension of yesterday's tension. According to the teachings of the Buddha, life truly happens only in the present moment. When the mind is too far ahead, we lose what is here. We do many things, but we are not fully in any of them. Pressure does not come from how much there is to do, but from not being fully present with what we are doing. Morning was not created for rushing. It was created to reset the rhythm, to remind us that we are alive. And life is not found in plans, but in this moment. One breath coming in, one breath going out. A ray of sunlight touching the skin, a sip of cool water in the throat. These things are small, but they are real. When we overlook these small moments, we lose the foundation of peace. We tell ourselves we will live once the work is done, but the work is never truly done, and so we wait for some future moment to feel at ease, while calm is already available right here if we are willing to pause. Healing hurry does not come from doing fewer things. It comes from returning to how we do things. When you are present, one task is enough. When you are absent, 10 tasks still feel empty. The difference is not in quantity, but in presence. Buddhism does not teach us to escape life. It teaches us to enter life with awareness. Returning to the present does not slow us down. It makes us clearer. With clarity, we know what needs to be done and what can wait. With clarity, pressure naturally softens. The practice for this morning is very simple. When you wake up, before touching your phone, pause for a moment. Breathe in slowly. Breathe out deeply. Just one breath is enough. That breath is a reminder that you are here and that you do not need to run anywhere yet. Then notice one small thing around you. The light outside the window, the feeling of the blanket, the distant sound of the morning. There is no need to analyze. Just notice. When you give the mind an anchor in the present, it begins to run less. If you begin the day with presence, the entire day feels different. You still do what needs to be done, but with a gentler rhythm, without panic, without rush. When pressure appears, you know how to return. Return to the breath. Return to the steps. Return to the moment that is here. Remind yourself with a simple sentence, soft enough to hear inside. Today, I choose presence over pressure. Say it not to resist responsibility, but to remember that you do not need to trade peace for a full life. When you live with presence, morning returns to its true nature, a beginning, an opening, an opportunity to step into the day with a mind that is not stretched tight. And from there, you can go farther, not by speed, but by inner steadiness. Lesson 6. I let go so life can flow. There is a familiar kind of tiredness that many people carry into the morning. It is not the tiredness of doing too much, but the tiredness of holding too tightly, trying to control how everything will happen, trying to force the day to follow a plan already drawn in the mind, holding on to outcomes, emotions, or an image of who we think we must be. Before the new day has even begun, the mind is already tense. And it is this tension that makes the flow of life feel heavy. According to the teachings of the Buddha, the root of suffering lies in attachment. When we cling to something and believe it must be a certain way, the mind becomes rigid. When reality does not follow that expectation, disappointment, anxiety, and fear arise. Not because life is wrong, but because we are trying to force life into a shape of our own making. Many people believe that without control, everything will fall into chaos. But Buddhism does not teach letting go as helplessness. It teaches letting go with awareness. Letting go means knowing clearly what we are holding and recognizing that not everything needs to be held. When we release in the right place, the mind becomes soft. And when the mind is soft, life begins to have space to move naturally. Look at a river. The water does not try to move faster. It does not argue with bends in the path. When it meets a rock, it curves around it. When it reaches a slope, it flows faster. When the land is flat, it slows down. The river is not weak because it is soft. It is strong because it knows how to move with the terrain. Life is the same. When we loosen our rigidity, we begin to move with what is here. The image of bamboo carries the same lesson. Bamboo does not fight the wind. It bends with it. When the wind passes, it stands upright again. That softness is what keeps it from breaking. Letting go does not make us weak. It allows us to remain standing over time. When we no longer have to brace against everything, energy is saved to live more fully. In daily life, we often hold tightly to things we believe are necessary. The result that must be achieved. How others see us. How today must unfold. We think that if we let go, we will lose direction. But in truth, it is only when we let go that we can clearly see the path ahead. The practice for this morning does not need to be complicated. When you wake up, take a quiet moment. Ask yourself honestly, is there something I am holding too tightly? It may be an expectation. It may be a worry. It may simply be a thought repeating in the mind. There is no need to find many things, just one that makes you tense. When you recognize it, do not try to push it away. Do not tell yourself you should not be thinking this way. Simply notice that you are holding. Then gently allow your hand to soften. Allow the mind to no longer grip that thing so tightly. Not to throw it away completely, but to loosen it. like releasing your shoulders after they have been tense for a long time. You can combine this with the breath. Breathe in and notice what you are holding. Breathe out and allow it to soften just a little. It does not need to disappear. It only needs to become less tight. Each breath is a permission. Permission for life to unfold without needing you to control every detail. Letting go does not mean that you do not care. Letting go means caring without being bound. It is doing what needs to be done without allowing outcomes to define your worth. It is walking forward without dragging fear about where you will arrive. When you let go in this way, the mind becomes lighter. And when the mind is light, the day has room to breathe. Life has its own rhythm. When we try to impose our rhythm upon it, we become tired. When we listen and move with it, things begin to flow more smoothly. Not because difficulties disappear, but because we are no longer resisting the current. End the morning with a gentle reminder. I let go so life can flow. Say this not to abandon responsibility, but to remember that you do not need to strain in order to live. You can trust the natural movement of life and trust your own ability to adapt. When you carry this spirit of letting go into the new day, you will notice that you react less and listen more. You stop grasping in a hurry and begin to feel. And within that feeling, there is a deep kind of peace. The peace of someone who does not need control in order to feel safe. The peace of someone who knows they can soften and still remain steady. This is how Buddhism closes the morning, not by adding more effort, but by laying things down at the right moment. Morning comes to a close not by doing something more, but by remembering. The 6 reminders you have just listened to are not meant to change who you are. They simply remind you that peace has always been present, and that you only need to return to recognize it. You do not need to live differently. You only need to speak differently to yourself, more gently and more slowly. Each morning is a choice. You can begin the day with familiar pressure, or you can begin with presence. You can carry yesterday with you, or you can allow today to open softly. When you choose words that are aligned with your heart, the entire day slowly shifts its direction. If you have stayed until the end of this video, press like as a quiet thank you to yourself. You may also leave a short comment, my morning, my peace. It is a way of reminding yourself of the choice you are making today. Unfold gently. May your mind remain spacious.